What's up, everybody? It's Broken Bones here, and welcome to Redstone 101. Today, we're going to be learning about Redstone Dust. Yeah, we're going to be learning all about this stuff right here, and how it works, and what it can be used for. As you can see, I've prepared a bunch of demonstrations to show you guys all the different ways in which redstone can be used, and how it can be manipulated to go ahead and function the way you want it to. And just in case you're a beginner, I've listed out a few of the items that are used in today's demonstration, because today's demonstration is featuring Redstone Dust, but obviously we have other things that we need to use with Redstone Dust, because Redstone Dust itself doesn't really get powered or interact in any other way. It has to interact with other items. So we have a couple of different items here to go ahead and show you guys how Redstone Dust works. And the first item is a Redstone Torch, which is a basic power source. It powers anything right next to it. This is a redstone lamp, which produces light anytime that it is powered. Over here we have a lever, which obviously powers something when it's turned on and depowers it when it's turned off. This is a piston, a sticky piston, because it's got a green slime on its face, which means it has the ability to not only push, but also to pull blocks. So that's a pretty cool thing about sticky pistons. Repeater obviously takes a delay on signal. So if you have a signal coming in the back of a repeater, you can either have 1, 2, 3, or 4 ticks of delay. I believe there's about 10 to 20 ticks in a second. So it just depends on the actual lag on the server, but nonetheless this does create a delay. So as you can see, if you were to do that, it takes longer to turn on than if it was like this. It'll turn on nearly instantly, but that's 4 ticks of delay that it'll cause. So that's what repeaters are used for. Over here we have a comparator. This detects items inside of a container of any kind. It'll also detect signal strength coming in the back of it as well, but is more commonly known as detecting anything inside of a container. So as you can see, this comparator is off. If you put something inside of the container, it will go ahead and turn on, letting you know that there's something inside the container, and it'll produce a signal strength that is more powerful or weaker depending on how many items are in this chest. The fuller it is, the stronger it is. The less full it is, obviously the weaker the signal strength. So that's how a comparator works. We have an observer here, which produces a 1-tick pulse out the backside here on this red dot, which is in the direction of this arrow right here on top. So as you can see, if I place something on the face of this, a redstone signals pass through it, and then it gives a single-tick pulse to the backside, which has some special properties, because as you guys know, sticky pistons have the ability to push and pull blocks, but if you give that an update, it'll give it a single tick, which gives this piston here the ability to go ahead and spit its block out and not retract it. And obviously if you were to give it another pulse, it would go ahead and retract it as well. So that's what we're using observers. That's how they're used. It's a single tick generator basically is what that is, a monostable circuit of sorts. Over here we have a redstone block, which is just your basic power source. It'll produce power no matter which way you put it. It'll power up anything. So you can power this piston in any direction. You can power it, on the side, up and down. It doesn't matter where it is. It just produces power. Over here we have a daylight sensor, which, as you can see, I can put it on night mode or in day mode, and when it goes on day mode, it is daytime, so it does produce signal strength and power things next to it. Over here we have a dispenser, which dispenses any item that you put in there. If you have a bucket of lava in there and you power that, it'll dispense the lava out, and then if you power it again, it'll suck the lava back in. So that's how a dispenser works. It'll also dispense out items if you just have a regular old item in there. It'll also just pop the item out just like that. Over here we have the star of today's redstone episode is the redstone dust itself, which gets powered, and it can be powered in multiple different ways, which we're going to be teaching you all about today. And if you have any questions about how any of these things work, I suggest that you grab a crafting bench, go ahead and click on it and go to the redstone tab of your crafting bench. And if you have a question about how these things work, you can go to any of the questionable items. Say you had a question about dispensers, well, you can go down there to square, which says info, and it'll tell you how it is supposed to be used. Use to hold and shoot out items in random order when given a redstone charge. So it'll even show you the amount of items and the items that it takes to actually build the thing. So this is a good place to start if you guys are just starting in redstone. Go ahead and look in the crafting bench and just look at the info on all of the redstone components. But enough about all that stuff. It is time to go ahead and start learning about redstone and how all this stuff works. And the first thing on our list is signal strength. We're going to be learning about signal strength. Redstone has a signal strength, a maximum signal strength of 15. And as you can see over here, I've counted out the number of redstone blocks it's going out, and as you can see, it's gone out 15 blocks. On the 16th one, it no longer gets powered. You would have to add something like a repeater. So 15 blocks is the maximum amount of signal strength you can get out of redstone. But 15 is not the only signal strength that it can have. It can have variable strength, which means it can have different amounts of strength put into it. As you can see right here, I've got a comparator with a item frame and a item inside of it, and that's going to go ahead and change the power that goes into these redstone lamps here. And as you can see, if you turn this, it'll go to 2 signal strength, and then obviously if you turn it again, it'll go to 3, and then 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9, until we get all the way back down to the beginning, which is pretty cool. So you can change the type of signal that goes into redstone. And to vary your signal strength, you will need a comparator regardless of what you use. If it's an item frame with an item, or a chest, or a dropper, or even a daylight sensor, it will produce a different signal strength based on what time of day it is, how full this container is, or how full or empty this chest is. Redstone can get powered vertically, which, as you can see, if I turn this lever on right here, it'll power that lamp tower almost all the way up to the top, showing you that it powers the redstone all the way up to the top. It does not work for going down now. If you go ahead and flick this lever on the top, you can see that redstone does not go down transparent blocks. It has to be a solid block in order for it to go down, so that pattern doesn't actually work. You'd have to use a pattern like this, where you can actually power on the way down, such like that, and obviously it'll work for the way up too. But obviously this is a lot better for going up. This works better for going down. This is just a spiral staircase kind of sorts, and I use the redstone lamps to show you how far the signal actually goes all the way down. So in order to get redstone to go up, though, you would need transparent blocks, which include not only slabs but also glowstone. Things like observers and pistons are also transparent blocks. As you can see, if I go ahead and flick this, the redstone does get powered up here. You can see that that does connect. But if you chop this off like this with a solid block, and you go ahead and flick that, you can see that this redstone up here does not get powered until you break the connection. You have to go ahead and give that connection a break somehow without having a block in its way. So if you go ahead and pull that back, it'll go ahead and actually chop that signal off again. So you can actually leave this powered up here, chopping that off, which is actually a pretty cool mechanic with redstone. Depending on what version you're playing on, the mechanics may change. And one of the mechanics, like for instance, is that redstone can go right on top of pistons just like that, regardless of what state they're in, and not break. But that's only here on PlayStation 4. If you're playing on PC or Bedrock, that may change. And that's just one of the mechanics. There's several more that may change depending on what platform you're playing on. However, regardless of which version of Minecraft you play, everything we're learning in today's video should apply. So over here we have soft and hard powering, direct and indirect powering. To start things off, soft powering means that you can power something, such as just a regular old block, and not get an output from it with redstone. So if you go ahead and put redstone over here and power it like I have with this lever, it doesn't really matter which state that's on, because it's never going to power this redstone. So redstone cannot power more redstone. That is called soft powering. If you were going to hard power something, you would need to run a repeater into a block. But as you can see over here, even though this redstone is lit and this redstone isn't taking an output from it, you can power a block with redstone, which is soft powering it, and get an output from it with a repeater. You can do that. But you can't power more redstone with redstone. It doesn't work like that, so you'd have to take a repeater output. But if you were to flip that around and run a repeater into a block, that will power redstone, and that's because the block is now being hard powered with a repeater. But we're not focusing on repeaters today, focusing on redstone. So to continue on, direct and indirect powering. This lamp here is being indirectly powered. As you can see right here, we have some redstone next to a block, which this block is being directly powered, which is indirectly powering this lamp right here. You can run this lamp on any side. You could run it down below, on the side. You could have it above, around any 6 sides besides the one that's actually being powered. I guess you have 5 more sides. But as you can see, even though this lamp's being powered, it is not being directly powered, which means that you cannot get an output from that block. That's not going to happen. You're never going to get that. You have to have direct power to a block in order to get a signal from it. So as you can see, this redstone here is right next to this block, which is directly powering it, which is giving an output to this repeater. But regardless if it's direct or indirect, you are going to be powering some blocks, and that's demonstrated right here. As you can see, we got some redstone, which is directly powering these 3 blocks, the 2 lamps and the block in the back. And as you can see, if we come out back, these 3 lamps out the back are being indirectly powered by this block that is getting powered by that redstone. So over here we have another demonstration of being indirectly lit, and the certain way that you can run redstone. Obviously, if it's in a line like this, it's going to run into a block. If it's in a dot like this, it'll power in all 4 directions. So as you can see, we have the same setup with the lamps, but it's only powering the ones that are being powered. Obviously, these are not getting indirectly powered by anything, or even powered by the redstone dust like in the other example. If you think hard and soft powering and direct and indirect powering is confusing, wait till you get to budding. When you bud a block, that means block update detection. That's BUD. That's what those letters stand for, block update detection. So as you can see, if you have a powered block above a redstone device, as you can see, this is powered, and so is this. It just doesn't know it. It needs a block update in order to know it. So as you can see, if you update that block, it will obviously let it know that it's being powered. And as you can see, if you depower it, it is still in the budded state. So it is now not powered, but it doesn't know it because it needs a block update. So as soon as you update it, it'll let it know to go ahead and turn off. So that's how that works. And the way you can get around that is by using slabs. You can obviously go above a redstone mechanical device by using a slab just like this, where as you can see, redstone is above it, but even if you get a block update, it doesn't actually power it, and that's because it's not being powered. That's not a solid block above it. Regardless if you think budding is a good or bad thing, it can be used to your advantage, and that's demonstrated right here with Quasi Connectivity. Now, Quasi Connectivity means that when you have 2 pistons like this, basically what you're doing is you're going to power this redstone here, and you're going to power this block, which obviously would power this piston right here, but it's also going to power this one right here, and the reason why is because this block is diagonal from that piston, which is going to give it a bud, same as right here, so it doesn't always have to be above. It could be diagonal from the piston like that, but because we're going to turn it on, it's going to receive a block update from this piston, which is being directly powered, so it's going to fire out as well. So as you can see, if you power that, both of those do power, and if we go ahead and turn that off, I'll show you that it doesn't work if you don't have that piston, because it needs a block update. So if you were to even give out a block update, it would work. So that's how you can use budding to your advantage, and that's with Quasi Connectivity. Now, regardless if you got redstone directly powering a block or indirectly powering a block, or being soft powered, hard powered, going up slabs, coming down blocks, doesn't even matter. You're going to need a pulse, and the shortest pulse you can get is a 0-tick pulse, and most people think it's a single-tick pulse. Now, ticks is how the time is measured in the game. Obviously, every tick is like 1/10 of a second, I think is what it comes down to. So there's 10 ticks in a second, and basically right here, as you can see, single tick here has a special property. It actually allows sticky pistons to spit their blocks out. So here's that demonstrated for you right there. As you can see, even though I've powered this block, it gives a single tick pulse through that redstone, and gives a quasi connectivity to these pistons, which allow them to both spit out their blocks. So regardless of which way I flick that, it's going to go ahead and give a pulse to those guys, which is rather cool, and that's a good way to get lag-free types of things, is giving single-tick pulses to things. But as I was saying earlier, there's even a shorter version, a 0-tick pulse. Now, these have a special property to them because, as you've learned in the past clip, that quasi-connectivity should work. If you're powering this block here, both these pistons should work, but it actually changes that, and that's demonstrated right here. So as you can see, if we give a single tick to this set of pistons here, it only operates the top one, which actually gets away from Quasi Connectivity. Quasi Connectivity does not work on a single tick pulse of redstone, and a 0 tick generator can be built in this fashion right here. All you have to do is run a comparator and a repeater, comparator into the piston, repeater into the block, and then have that going into a circuit with your output wherever you want it to be, basically. So, but that's a pretty easy circuit to build right there, a 0 tick repeater circuit. But nonetheless, that's these are the two shortest circuits that you can actually create in Minecraft: is a single tick and a 0 tick pulse. Now, 0 tick and 1 tick redstone pulses are good for short pulses, but for longer pulses, you would need a pulse extender, which means that you can actually power redstone for longer than it's actually being powered for. So as you can see, I'm going to go ahead and power this redstone lamp here for a short time, and then it's going to go ahead and power this pulse extender, which is going to stay on for a little bit because it's being extended with these comparators. Now, we're not going to go over how that works because this is a whole different component right here. We're focusing on redstone, but it can be lengthened. The pulse length can be lengthened depending on what you're running into it, and that can be used to your advantage. Now, regardless if you're using a short pulse or a long pulse, doesn't matter. There is a beginning and end to every pulse, and the beginning of the pulse is called the rising edge of the circuit, and the end of the pulse is called the falling edge of the circuit. And here I've got two monostable circuits to demonstrate that for us today. So right here we have a monostable circuit right here that's going to create a 1 tick pulse, which on the rising edge will go ahead and power this piston here, which will power that lamp. So as you can see on the rising edge, when I flick the slaver on, it instantly powers that lamp right there, which is demonstrated, and then on the falling edge it does nothing. So that's why it's called a rising edge monostable circuit. So as you can see, if I do it again, it'll toggle that piston, depowering that lamp, and then if I turn it off, it does nothing. So over here is a falling edge monostable circuit, and that is demonstrated right here. So as you can see, as I power that, nothing happens, but as I depower it, we get a pulse going through, powering our lamp, and again, when I power it again, does nothing, and then when I depower it, we get our lamp to turn off again. Now that can also be demonstrated right here with a torch. This torch right here, if you go ahead and power that torch, it'll be obviously depowered, and then you can just run a regular monostable circuit into that, which means that when you depower that, obviously it's going to turn that torch on and activate your system. So that could be the same way. You could run a torch into that, or you could use an observer or a piston or anything like that to get a falling edge monostable circuit versus a rising edge monostable circuit. I hope I've explained most of these topics in a fashion that was easy to understand and easy for you guys to take in. If you guys are confused or you guys have any questions for me, please leave me a comment down in the comment section and I will get back to you. But in the meantime, guys, why don't you guys go ahead and try something new and don't be afraid to mess up. Go ahead and go in creative mode and figure some things out for yourselves, because that's a lot how I learned. I learned a lot by just making mistakes and basically not being afraid, and that's because obviously, you know, you build things and you start with a lever, and obviously that works. But as soon as you don't have the player, it no longer works. It's not automatic. I wanted it to be automatic, so I got involved with redstone and I started placing things in like observers. But then it went crazy and I had no idea why it was doing that. Then I was trying to figure out, you know, all I need is just a 1 tick pulse in this top up here, and I don't know how to do that. So I figured out how to do that. I just, you know, I figured out what it took to actually make redstone do what I wanted it to do, and that's all I'm trying to help you guys. So hopefully this video helped you guys a little bit learning about how redstone works and how redstone dust can be applied to your redstone builds. I will be making a series on this. We will go over some more of the other components in this video, but that's going to do it for today, guys. I hope you guys did enjoy today's video, and if you guys did, please remember to hit that like button for me. Subscribe if you guys are new, ring that notification bell, and share this video with all your friends. I'm Broken Bones, and I will see you guys next time. Take it easy, everybody.